Mm. Good morning. It is morning tea with me. It's Friday, December 16th. I'm Sensei Mish. And 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Is it standard or is it savings time? I can't remember. I just wish they would get rid of it. That's all I care about. So, what is happening with everybody? Well, there's nobody to tell me because there's nobody watching right now, but that's okay. Last week there was no tea. I was helping my mother-in-law move, and for those of you who have been tuning into my journey there, living with my mother-in-law is not easy. I don't know how we got roped into it, but yeah. So she's living on her own, which she needed to be, and it's a nice little apartment. I made my last little thing yesterday. I think we went over there. So moving stuff from her storage unit, but yeah, I can actually. I joke. It's like, oh, I can have naked time in my own house. I mean, I don't know how appropriate that is for the internet, but or if you guys even want to imagine what that looks like, sorry for the visual. Anyway, as the year comes to a close, I'm preparing for the next year, at least with the school. So, in fact, it's kind of funny as I make plans. Brandon Beliso is actually doing I missed it last week because, again, I was moving and I never made a point to go search it down. But apparently he's doing point 2 or part 2 today of basically creating a calendar for your school for the entire year for next year. And I've already began that process. He's gotten a lot more detailed than I have, but some of the big things that are going to be going on. I don't have any big things for January, but February, probably towards the end of February, we'll be doing and this is something from Rory. Rory had mentioned this to me about doing a Pacific Northwest authors seminar. So we get martial artists who are authors, and we just get them all in the same room, and they can, we each get an hour on the floor, and then they can sell their wares. I think that would be pretty fun. So I've talked to a couple people. So I know Danny Anderson is down for it. Guy named Jason Brick, he's down for it. It was Rory's idea, so I know Rory would be down for it. And I'm always game, so I'm thinking maybe that might be a good February thing. April, there's a couple different things going on in April, and this is more like the big seminars. This is not like the detailed stuff that I'm going to be doing inside the school, but we've got what's his name? Jim Korn. Jim is moving he said he's moving his camp to the beginning of April, as opposed to always having it on the 24th or that weekend closest to the 24th, which is his birthday. So I can't remember why he said he was moving it, but he said he was moving it. So I don't know. I think he said it's going to be that first weekend in April. I'm planning on going. I really, really want to go. He actually said that if I come early, potentially we could go up to Bloomington, because there's a Catherine Janeway like a not necessarily, I want to say memorial, but Janeway's not dead. Technically, she hasn't even been born yet. But anyway, it's this Star Trek monument for Captain Janeway, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he says, hey, it's not too far away. We'll just drive up there, next time you're out. And I was like, that actually sounds pretty fun. So I'd love to be able to do that. I'm working on a new book, so that I might be able to push that into practice. Some of the stuff that I'm working on there. Let's see. But also going on in April is Brandon Beliso's It's Time Live Believe. I've been to the last 3. The last 2 were in person. The first one I went to was strictly online. I really, 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 really want to go, but it is really, 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 really expensive. And I'm trying to, I could make my money back for the plane ticket to Indiana, but I don't know, I don't know if I'll be able to make it to California this year. So, especially both me and Lisa, and I get the whole invest in yourself, invest in your school, but yeah, that can be if you don't have the money to invest, then you can't do certain things. So he's like making it very, very strict this year. It's like 20 people only. And that's for the 4-day experience. Like usually it's like 20 people for the 4-day experience. And then he adds another 20 people for a 2-day experience. And then he has an online version. But he's like, no, this is going to be niche, 20 people only, 4 days. And if you have like a team member that you want to be part of it, but of course can't afford the whole 4 days, they can do, I think, what was it? They can do the Saturday, Sunday, or maybe it's just the Saturday for $100. So, I mean, that's actually pretty cool. I'd love to go down there and bring my daughter and my kids and have them take part in this, but yeah. So I think things would really, really have to change. Our goal of being in the black by the end of the year, that has slowed down so much just because of, I don't know. I mean, we've been out there, we've gotten some new students, but just not enough. So just crossing our fingers that people will want to try something new for the new year, and that will be us. And so we've been in people's faces and doing stuff. One of the really cool things we just finished up was last Saturday we had the Grinch. And when we plan for our calendar for next year, Mike and I have already talked about next year. So we will have the Grinch at the school next year. Yeah, it was awesome. We had people, donate money, come in, donate toys. We had a bunch of people come in, take pictures. I took a bunch of pictures. So, because that's the one thing Mike doesn't have. People come in, take their pictures, and they walk away. And he's like, oh, post it on our group so we can have the pictures. So I got a whole slew of photos, behind the scenes photos, photos of him and other people. So he can end up using that stuff. So we, and then of course I'll use it too, but yeah, so very, very, very cool. Very excited about, that event. The Toys for Tots box is actually overflowing. Just a little bit. It's not like it's like overflowing, but it's like the hot chocolate when you pour the whipped cream on it, it kind of mounds up just a little bit. That's kind of where we're at on the box. So I'll actually be delivering that today. So after the podcast today, then I will do, I'm going to tune into Brandon's thing at 11 my time. So today is only going to be an hour. And then I'll hop in the truck, go up to the school, get the Toys for Tot stuff, and deliver it to the Marines. So it's kind of my plan. So let's see. As I was talking, April, we've got my plan is to go to Indiana. If I can afford it, I'll go to California. Bram and I have been talking about him coming out here in April. The Oregon Knife Show has been canceled for like the last 3 years. And so he was actually planning on coming out here for the knife show last April, but then they canceled it. And so he just came and did a seminar at my place just to do my place. If we can, Alan Best has always talked about how, he wants Bram back down there, but basically if the knife show goes on, Bram hopefully will be out here. He'll do a Friday thing down at Allen's, and then he'll do like a Saturday thing up here the next week. And then we've been toying with the idea of doing one in Olympia at Pollyann and Josh's school, Rising Tide Karate. So they've wanted to do one for a couple years. So hopefully we can get that done, but no promises. Let's see. When it comes to, my thought on big seminars is I don't want to do one every single month because I don't want to get people tired and shelling out, money, especially my own students. I want them to come to the events that I host. And even if I give them a discount, I want them to still be able to afford classes and coming to the seminars. So like doing the author seminar in February, and then having really nothing in March, no big seminar in March. Bram in April, nothing really in May. And then of course, I'm going to do my Friends in the Arts experience, my birthday camp. I am hoping, crossing my fingers, and only because it costs less. It costs less to fly Mark Klein out here from New Jersey than it is to fly from Evansville, Indiana, or even Indianapolis out here. But I'd like to get, I'd love to do a Jim Korn, Mark Klein, and have them out at my Friends in the Arts experience. So I think that would be amazing. That would be an awesome birthday camp. So that's kind of my plan, but it's like, how much will all that cost? So, and then of course, Bram's birthday camp in July. That's going to be, even though there's not a gap between my birthday and the July, there is, we have Bram's birthday camp in July. And then, really nothing in August. I don't know about September. When it comes to, December, October, November, there's, I know that, I'd like to go to I'm going to go to the HKI camp in October. If I can make it work, Jim has talked about me flying into Evansville, doing his camp, staying for a week, and then going to and then we would drive from Indiana to Jacksonville, and then I would fly out of Jacksonville. So I actually think that would be pretty cool. That would give me some great one-on-one time with Jim. We're working on a book together, so by that time I'll have most of it compiled. So that would be a great time to edit and get things done that way. Plus, I'd be able to hit two big seminars that I want to go to all at once. Yeah, so and then towards the end of October, instead of it's like the second to last weekend in September, like it normally is, or the third weekend in September. So then we can go from here to here. So I think that would be fun. Let's see. Then there's and then we basically kind of roll back around into the Grinch. Not sure other big seminars. I do want to try and hit, I know in June, and I kind of hope that it doesn't conflict with my birthday experience, but I want to try and do get into some of the school, like some of the schools. One of the ones that I'm connected with, they're actually having an end of the year carnival. So I'd love to be able to get there and have a booth at the carnival, and then have do some other carnivals. I'm going to be sending out probably this week, and then maybe even just at the beginning of the year. So it'll be next week. Hey, you be good. Is basically promoting the self-defense for fundraising for schools. One thing in October, not necessarily would it be at the school, but it would at least be on the property, is we have is doing a trunk or treat and trying to get the other businesses involved. So I think that would be I was kind of late to the game this year when it came to that idea. Somebody was like, oh yeah, we're one of Alexa's friends was like, oh yeah, we're going to be going to do a trunk or treat over here. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's a thing. Like it just didn't click. So that's just one of those things where I'm writing down. It's like, ooh, that would be really cool. And then of course, talking with Leah at Kazoodles, and her being like, well, that would be really cool to do, but we just, trying to get people involved in that at the shopping center. She would like to do it, but doesn't know, other people who would be, like to get involved. I even thought about maybe even doing a carnival at, having like a bouncy house and, even though all of these different businesses have these strips, like they would have a booth, and then you'd contain these people tightly, and they'd have to, like tattoo people could do like fake tattoos on kids at a booth. I think that would be really cool. But we're also doing, I think, also for the summer events that I'd like to do at the school. And I don't know why I would limit this to the summer, but doing a, what is it called? Like a movie night. And I might even just throw that out there, that like every other Friday evening we would have a movie night, and we'll do some type of movie, and it would be, it would be free for students, just to kind of get stuff, get stuff in there. Just like it wouldn't be a money making thing. I want people to know, but it would be like, hey, bring your friend, come, we're going to do movie night. And then we could have popcorn and all that kind of stuff. So, and we already had a whole slew of people through the school, and I threw tarps down on the mat, and the mat survived. One really cool thing was, and I'm glad that I was able to make this happen, is when I built the wall and I built the little ramp going up so people could access the mat, I put a little slope instead of just having a stopper there. And I put the slope there because within code, you have to have, it can't be more than a 1/4 inch or whatever. But we actually had somebody in a wheelchair show up for pictures with the Grinch. And Matt was, Mike was like, oh, well, we can just, do it here in the lobby. And I was like, well, no, you can just go on the mat. And of course, he was, Mike was concerned about my mats, but I'm like, dude, they're Swain mats. They're super, super durable. So getting a wheelchair out there is not going to be a problem. So guy just wheels himself right out on the mats. And of course we had tarps over the mats. So, the mats, I didn't want them to be, get super dirty, but, foot traffic and trying to make people take off their shoes and all that kind of stuff. But that was, I thought that was very, very cool that we could accommodate everybody that came in. So, let's see. But yeah, so that's just some of the things like those are some of the bigger things that I'm planning for the school. Maybe in September doing we could either do it as a movie night or, but do like maybe even a Star Trek party. Now, when it comes to Star Trek, I think I'm an episode or two behind on Prodigy. So I still have to, I got to catch up on that. But the last episode wasn't that exciting. It had Okana in it, and I don't know. He's just kind of a boring character. I don't know. I wasn't, I'd be like, okay. One thing that's coming up though, the first week of January, I think it's January 4th. Whatever. Let's see. Let's get into the calendar. January 4th, I think it's a Wednesday. We have Bad Batch starting. So we're like, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We're 3 weeks away. I have tasked myself, and I'm not doing a very good job because I'm focusing on other things, but I'm rewatching Clone Wars, and there's like 133 episodes or 130 episodes, something like that, of Clone Wars. So I was like, if I just put it on the background as white noise and maybe pay attention a little bit, I can get through all 7 seasons and then the first season of Bad Batch, which is another 16 episodes. And then I'll be ready for whatever. Now, of course, I've been busy. I've been working on the school. I've been doing all this kind of stuff. Working on my new book. But it's one of those things where it's like I'm watching. I started late. Well, actually, I didn't really start late, but I started, and then I was like, and then I haven't watched it for a couple days, but I think I realized why I don't like the first season of Clone Wars and why I don't like the movie. Now, of course, Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters to come out of that series. You could make the argument that yes, she's this annoying little shit in the beginning, and that was Dave Filoni's. That was his. He did that on purpose, so then we can watch her grow and mature as a person, and that's great because I couldn't stand her character in the beginning, and now she's one of my favorite characters to come out of that series. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to the show. When Ahsoka finally comes out next year, which it probably won't be until mid to late 2023. But the animation, like, is so bad. Like it, and I know it's, I don't know what year it came out, but it's just like, I know for an animated series, it was probably top notch. But that first season is just so hard to get through because me not liking Ahsoka, the storylines aren't actually that bad. I've been half paying attention. I'm like, okay, well, that was kind of cool. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. We'll I know it gets better. But I mean, if I don't get through it all, I don't get through it all. It's not the end of the world. I am taking a little holiday break so I can just sit and veg out all day. But I'm not going to be doing that. I'll probably be up to school. I'll be working on the book. And on Sunday, I'm actually going up to see Harvey. That's my plan. If the weather allows me to, it's supposed to be, let's see what it says today, because it changes constantly. It's actually not been that bad the last few days. It has been super, super cold here, like super cold. Let's see. Currently, it is 33 degrees. It says it feels like it's 26. Sunday, it's supposed to rain. Oh, actually, Sunday is not that bad. It's supposed to be 41, low of 35. So it's not supposed to get down. It's supposed to, as we get into the Christmas time, we're supposed to have a wet Christmas. My sister and her kids are coming over, so that'll be fun. But because we're hosting Christmas this year, or Christmas Eve, I should say. But yeah, so so anyway, so Harvey, because I was talking about the book, so Harvey and I are getting together. One of the topics, the topic of this new book is going to be Naihanchi, and I did a Naihanchi DVD years ago, like maybe 10 years ago. It was not well received because some of the graphics I used were from Oyada's little online manual, but I'm not using that now. However, this is Naihanchi with a crimp, and we've talked about this before. The crimp is, and this is a different size. I have two in front of me, a standard and a magnum. So the crimp is the best Kyusho tool that Kyusho people aren't using. I've been saying that. Harvey started saying it, and just kind of got louder. And so, at his suggestion, I'm gonna make him do this with me. He's kind of gone back and forth. Last time he said, yes, we should do a book together. So I am actually calling it the working title. And you can see I have a bunch of stuff going on. I have this book. I have like 7 different book projects going on right now. So I kind of be like, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. Kind of when my brain is like, I can handle working on this concept. That's when I work on it. It's not multitasking because it's impossible to multitask. And I know that there's a lot of people saying, you should just stick with one project and finish the project. My brain doesn't work like that. So I will, I'll work on this project. When my brain is tired of thinking crimp, then I'll work on another the Jim Korn book. And when my brain gets tired of editing audio into text and trying to make sentences out of one long transcribed thing, then I'll either go back to the modular or I'll go back to the crimp or whatever. But affectionately, I'm calling this Naihanchi and the Crimp, kind of like Lady and the Tramp. So, and I didn't use Lady and the Tramp as something where it's like, oh, that's my inspiration for the title. I was just trying to think of, because it was like Naihanchi Crimp or Naihanchi with Crimp. And I was like, ooh, Naihanchi and the Crimp, because that's what it is. It is, as, some of the entries that Bram does, some of the scripted entries that he does with the Crimp, you can find in the motions of Naihanchi. And then it's also taking Naihanchi and even some of the applications, like, it's like, okay, well, what if, using my rules of kata decoding kata, it's like, what if this, and I move this way, and it's just a great tool. So anyway, so hopefully I've so far where I'm at on it, I've written the history of Naihanchi, took a bunch of sources. It's interesting. I actually kind of I learn stuff. That's one of the reasons why I like doing this, is because I learn as I do research and I do this. But there's a couple different origin stories, and then they split off, and who said this or who did that, and why did that happen? Oh, potentially this way. So the chapter that I wrote on the history, I hope people enjoy, will end up enjoying. But really, like, the history of the Crimp, or the history of Naihanchi, kind of reads like a choose your own adventure book. It's like, okay, we're going to start here. Now, here's some choices. Which sub, what sub, storyline do you want to believe? Do you want to believe the Bushi Matsumura story, or do you want to believe the Yotosu story, or do you want to, so it's kind of funny. So anyway, so I, in Mish fashion, I lay it all out. And then I did an interview with Bram, and so I wrote up kind of a history and timeline of the Crimp, and I learned stuff there too. So, and then I've right now I'm putting, because the book, you not only get like a history lesson and what that is, but then you also for either in Naihanchi and the Crimp, but we'll also have how to do the kata, because if you're not familiar with the kata, the book should teach you how to do it. And then, of course, if you're not familiar with what's it called? If you're not familiar with the entries, the book should be able to teach you. And then, of course, we cover applications, and then and of course it's an application book, so there'll be a bunch of stuff in there with Naihanchi and the Crimp. So, but one of the cool things is I'm going to use the QR code that I did with the Kyusho information guide. Is that because for people who are not in the know, when I showed Dan Anderson my Kyusho information guide and the QR codes, like, light bulb went off in his head. He started working on a quick guide for one of his, basically converting one of his martial arts books into a quick guide with QR codes. And so to these videos that he already had them. He already had them ready to go, and he was already paying to host the videos. So why not add QR codes so people can access the videos from the book? So he did that based on that idea. And I was like, well, maybe this is the beginning. Like, this is the beginning of a new era for martial arts and books, and how to learn from a book. So it's like an interactive book. I can't, what did Dan call it? I think he called it like a moving book. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, so the Naihanchi book, that will actually, like, in the section where you learn Naihanchi, you can learn it from the pictures, but you can also scan a QR code and learn the kata from the video. So so there'll be, and then of course that'll also go with the applications and all that kind of stuff. So it's really looking forward to how this project is going to turn out. And then let's see. And so far, moving forward on Jim Korn's book, it's actually I'm having a great time listening to him tell stories, but also other people tell stories as well. So but it's just getting it's getting the audio transcribed. It's getting the audio transcribed to the audio transcribed to text, and then listening to the audio, reading the text, and then editing it so it's more editable. So, and then figuring out, how do we want to tell the story? Because you've got these stories of, oh, I was interacting with this person, and this person said this, and I said that, this was my response. And so do you write it as if it is a conversation, and you've got quote, and he said, and she responded, and I did this? Or do you write it like, I said this and she said something to the notion of whatever? So it's making those decisions and kind of running through it. But there's so far, like, we've got, let's see, we've got a good 25,000 words so far transcribed. And I don't think we're finished. Like, there's going to be so much more. So yeah, because I've still got, I'm going to write my story. Cause he's having, like, different people enter different stuff, so it's like, oh, okay, well, there's this story and this story and this story. So it's not just him telling stories, it's other people telling stories about him. So that'll be, that's been a fun journey. And then of course I've got a whole bunch of other things. I've just got this list of, oh, I want to do this and this and this and this. My top three though are Naihanchi and the Crimp, The Sound of One Hand Slapping, which is Jim Korn's book. And then I want to do a series of basically start a kids series on martial arts books for kids, not like written novels, but it will be like young kids, like 6, 7. There'll be picture books. So like, we'll basically kind of convert Karate-Do My Way of Life into like maybe a 20 or 15 page picture book about Gichin Funakoshi. So I think that would be kind of cool. We might have to put a parental warning on Jim Korn's book, his kid book, but other than that, I don't know. So that's another. Those are my top 3 projects that my brain is kind of bouncing back and forth on. So, When it comes to books, of course, I've, got my school. I'm always working on that. In fact, when it comes to the holiday break, I always say, okay, well, holiday break is just going to be the last week or so of the year. We'll start, say, Friday, which is, I don't know if that's New Year's Eve or maybe that's the day before New Year's, whatever day that is, and then go through the first. So I'll take 9 days. I'll just have 9 or 10 days off in a row. But what the hell am I going to do? It's not like this is, there's a telemarketer, my favorite telemarketer. Side note, I get these telemarketing calls. I cannot get the person on the phone. I will answer the phone, but it is a 564 area code number. The telephone number is 224, and then the last 4 starts with a 5, but then the last 3 is usually 101, 102, 106, 107, 10. The numbers change, but it's the same company because they're using the same number. So, but I've answered. Nobody will respond because I'm like, look, stop calling me, remove me from your, but really they are the only people that continue to call. So I don't know. Okay. Let's see. What was I talking about? Oh, well, I was talking about my books, but I was talking, my vacation. Okay. So all the things that were going on in November, Thanksgiving was a good break. Had a couple days, didn't think about the school, hung out with family, watched some television, did some stuff around the house. But then I was thinking, okay, well, I'll take off a week at the end of the year. Now, we don't go anywhere. We've never really gone on vacation. I'm not really a vacation type person. The way I look at me going to Indiana or Jacksonville or San Francisco, even though I'm going there for martial arts stuff, that's the vacation. I'm getting out of Vancouver. But I don't really do anything, So just the way the days fell, I was like, and one of the reasons why I don't have class on certain days is because nobody ever shows up. Now, I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt. Okay. So I am taking the 23rd, which I think is Friday, all the way through the 27th. And then basically, which is, I think, Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, I don't really have anything on Friday active right now. I do have a class, but nobody signed up for it. And then Saturday. And then, of course, then it'll start the new year and it'll be a whole new thing. But I was like, okay, well, I'll just take off a couple couple days, and then why not open the school, let people train? So I know that there's people who have been Christmas morning training. I don't know if Brandon is going to do any type of he had a morning Thanksgiving kickboxing class. I think that's cool. I have not yet partaken in any of that. I'd like to, but and I'd like to eventually offer something like that. But my stamina, I'll tell you, I'm an old fat fighter. I don't last that long. pressure points have made me lazy and effective, but continuing, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I am working on it. In fact, I actually haven't gone walking in the last couple of days because it's been so damn cold out. And that's just an excuse. It's a horrible excuse, which is a great point because it's my son's birthday today. It was my daughter's birthday, not yesterday, but the day before, the 14th. So Alexa is now 17. My youngest is 17. That makes me sound and feel old, but so she turned 17 on the 14th, and then Winston, my son Winston, he's 22 today. So I didn't know when I was going to see him. He's working, so I got in my truck. I went to Dutch, and I got a hot chocolate, and I got a tea. But essentially, I went and I wished him a happy birthday, and then I came back here to do this. But what was I going to say? But when I got home, there's these two people. I don't know exactly where they live in the neighborhood, but I see them out walking all the time. We've had many conversations. I will see them out walking, and of course they walk by my house. And so, all the different projects I've had in my house, they've always stopped and talked, and, great people. I think I know their name, but I don't remember. Anyway, they were out walking, and I was like, I said, that is some dedication. As cold as it is, you guys are still out walking. That's awesome. Like, props to you. I said, I got in my truck to go get a drink this morning. Now, of course, I didn't add in that it's my kid's birthday, and that's really why I went. But dude, it has been so cold, and I've been trying to think of, I just need to get over myself and go out and go walking. Definitely a fair weather walker. Now, that all being said, the Shamrock Run, which is a it started off as a 5K. I don't know, like more than 25 years ago, like 45 years ago. And it's grown into like a half marathon and a walk. And so I think there's a 3K and a 5K. No, there's a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and then like a walk, like a 3K walk, or I can't remember exactly what, but anyway, it's this huge thing that happens in Portland almost every year. I think they canceled it when COVID came up, but it's back. I don't know if it's back this year or maybe it was back last year, but anyway, on Facebook, this thing pops up, Shamrock Run. And I was like, well, I've been doing all these, I walk every day. I haven't walked for like the last few days, but for the most part, I walk every day. I did that, 3,000 or 3,000 push-up challenge. And that was fun. It was exhausting, but it was fun. But I was like, why not sign up? It's like $35. Why not sign up for the 5K? That's only 3.1 miles. I walk 3.1 miles when I go out and walk. And here and there, I have started to add a run in because eventually I would like just to go out and be able to run. I don't know why I want to do that, but for some reason, that's just one of the things. Yeah. So, the, when it comes to that, I reached out to my buddy, Tony. Tony's a high school friend. We chat every now and then, haven't actually seen each other like in years and years and years and years. But I was, I know that he's been losing weight lately. And I was like, hey, do you want to run because I know he's been at, he does the gym. And so I reached out and I'm like, hey, I said, do you walk on when you're on the treadmill, do you walk or do you run or whatever? And he's like, oh, well, I walk. And I said, hey, do you want to do the Shamrock Run? And he said he did it like 9 years ago, but it took 2 really pretty women to get him to do it. And I said, well, I know I'm kind of ugly, but I think we should do this, because we're both old. And I know we're not really old. We're only 50. But, I said, we're both 50. We will, and I think, well, let's see, I think he might be 51 by the time that the Shamrock Run happens, but that it is what it is. No, that's May. This is March. Anyway, so I'm like, hey, it's 3 months away. That should give us enough time to get our fat asses up and run. And he's like, well, I don't know. So he's thinking about it. So am I. I haven't purchased a ticket yet. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, challenge myself to do this, because I always thought that maybe I could run a marathon. I thought that would be pretty cool. Me running a marathon. That's the last person who I ever would think would run a marathon would be me. So, but it's just one of those things where it's like, should I do it? I don't know. Anyway, it is coming up on 11. I got to go. I want to tune into Brandon's podcast. So for those of you who have poked your head in, and I know that there's at least 2 of you watching right now, thank you for tuning in, listening to me flap my lips about different things. Next Friday, let's see, next Friday, what day is it? I actually think that's the 23rd. It is the 23rd. So yes. So the 23rd, I will be on next Friday. In fact, yeah, I think I'll just be on every Friday. I've thought about going back to daily, but I don't know yet. But yeah, 23rd, no major holiday that I need to deal with. Actually, you know what the 23rd is? The 23rd is Festivus. So even though that is it's a holiday that I recognize, we'll still be on. So check in next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Morning tea with me. At least this morning it was hot chocolate. We'll talk about Star Trek, martial arts, other sci-fi stuff, and maybe not in that order. Oh, and a little bit of Star Wars. So, love to y'all, and I will see you next week.